Hi again. Proclaimer's book, page 92. They have just had the election after the death of Rutherford, and they have a president and a vice president in place, and now the heading is Sounding the Go-Ahead Signal. Despite wartime rationing of food and gasoline, early in March 1942, plans were announced for the New World Theocratic Assembly to be held September 18 to 20. To facilitate travel, 52 convention cities were selected across the United States, many of them tied in by telephone to Cleveland, Ohio, the key city. About the same time, Jehovah's Witnesses convened in 33 other cities throughout the earth. What was the objective of this assembly?
This is a quote. "We are not here gathered to meditate on the past or what individuals have done," stated the chairman, Brother Covington, in his introductory words for the opening session. Then he introduced a keynote speech, "The Only Light," based on Isaiah 59 and 60, which was delivered by Brother Franz. Referring to Jehovah's prophetic command recorded by Isaiah, the speaker rousingly declared, "Here then is the go-ahead signal from the highest authority to keep going on in his work of witness, no matter what happens before Armageddon comes." It was no time to slack the hand and relax.
There is further work to be done, much work, declared N.H. Knorr in the next talk on the program. To aid his listeners in their response to the go-ahead signal, Brother Knorr announced the release of an edition of the King James Version of the Bible, printed on the Society's own presses, and complete with a concordance specially designed for use by Jehovah's Witnesses in their field ministry. That release reflected Brother Knorr's keen interest in printing and distributing the Bible. In fact, after he had become president of the Society earlier that year, Brother Knorr had moved quickly to secure the printing rights for this translation and to coordinate the preparation of the concordance and other features. Within months, this special edition of the King James Version was ready for release at the convention.
On the final day of the assembly, Brother Knorr delivered the discourse, "Peace, Can It Last?" In it he set out powerful evidence from Revelation 17, verse 8, that World War II which was then raging, would not lead into Armageddon, as some thought, but that the war would end and a period of peace would set in. There was still work to be done in proclaiming God's kingdom. The conventioners were told that in order to help care for the anticipated growth in the organization, starting the next month, the Society would send servants to the brethren to work with the congregations. Each congregation would be visited every 6 months.
That New World Theocratic Assembly welded Jehovah's organization together solidly for the work ahead, says Marie Gibbard, who attended in Dallas, Texas with her parents. And there was much work to do. Jehovah's Witnesses looked ahead to the period of peace to come. They were determined to plow right on through opposition and persecution, declaring the good news without let-up.
Then there's a box on this page, an encouraging look ahead. Delegates to the New World Theocratic Assembly in Cleveland, Ohio, in September of 1942 were delighted when the aged Secretary-Treasurer of the Society, W.E. Van Amburgh, addressed the convention. Brother Van Amburgh recalled that the first convention he attended was in Chicago in 1900, and it was a big one. There were about 250 in attendance. After enumerating other big conventions over the years, he concluded with this encouraging look ahead. This convention looks large to us now, but as this convention is large in comparison with the ones that I have attended in the past, so I anticipate this convention will be a very small one in comparison to those just in the future, when the Lord begins to assemble his people from all corners of the globe. There's a star that says a peak of 26,000 attended in Cleveland, with a total attendance of 129,699 for the 52 convention cities scattered across the United States.
Well, I get a mixed message from all of this because I know a little bit more of the background. They've already told some of it in here, but for some reason it's not being mentioned now. For instance, in the same period that in the last chapter we saw Rutherford announce the release of his last book, Children.
Mm-hmm.
The same months, actually the date is I think September. It's in the description of the video. We'll link at the end.
Mm-hmm.
In September of the previous year, when Rutherford is still alive and Children is released, they're talking about the remaining months till Armageddon. Now suddenly we're talking about great growth to come.
Yeah.
Anticipation
and peace
of great.
and not Armageddon's not right around the corner at this moment.
So this begins to look like damage control, as you pointed out when we talked about this in advance. Even Covington's first line here at the convention that's quoted, the first line quoted is, "We are not here gathered to meditate on the past or what individuals have done."
So what is he talking about?
Well, it looks like the criticism is penetrating and they're getting defensive about it. They used to be called Russellites, and for a decade now they've been basically called Joe Rutherford's new religion, Jehovah's Witnesses.
Yeah, and
now he's gone.
And then the year before, they have this in remaining months before Armageddon, and they've had the children thing saying we are anticipating Armageddon right around the corner.
So don't get married.
Yeah, so it's mixed messages here. I think it's damage control.
And you could probably speculate, I think intelligently, that the very fact that there's a leadership struggle going on after Rutherford dies, and here you've got the four main guys again. Their names have already come up in this chapter.
Mm-hmm.
Van Amburgh, who's been around a long time,
Mm-hmm.
at least since 1900, right?
Yeah.
And he's got some perspective that the younger guys don't have, namely that we've been through this before. There was the 1914 disappointment. There was the 1918 disappointment when Christendom was supposed to fall. Then there was Rutherford's failed prediction about the millions, 1925.
Yeah.
And now there was a lot of expectation coming up to World War II that this is to break out of Armageddon. And now Knorr is saying, no, it's not.
So this go ahead, it's like get busy, be busier. I mean, they've had that from time to time too. You know, the 6-month Bible study
That's right.
program that happened. Wasn't there even one with like little booklets because they were thinking it was even faster the approach? I mean, there's just been this frequent thing. If it's not predicting a date, it's always just around the corner. Keep busy. That's what they keep saying.
Even the title here, let's not forget the title of chapter 8 that we're reading from, Declaring the Good News Without Let Up.
Mm-hmm.
And then they give you dates, 1942 to 1975. Why did they cut it off at 1975? Because it's the third generation that passed away without their expectations being met.
Yeah. And even the statements from Van Amburgh here about the growth, that's been a pattern in the Watchtower too. When they see growth, God is blessing them. But after 75, when there's a decline, they don't say, well, God's not blessing us anymore. No, he's purging us. He's sanctifying us. They don't use the word sanctify, but purifying us. Mm-hmm. He's getting rid of all the bad people. So either way, God is fulfilling prophecy.
Mm-hmm. And in that respect, I think we've got to remark on what Brother Franz does here. His, what do they call it? The keynote speech. And we know what the conventions, they always have a keynote address, right?
Yeah.
The only light. And what text does he use? Isaiah 59 and 60. Yeah. And then there's a third reference to Isaiah 6 here in respect to that message. Mm-hmm. And if you look those up, and I challenge everybody here to do that, look up Isaiah 59 and 60 and also chapter 6. And what will you find? Mm-hmm. You'll find in chapter 6 a judicial blindness on Israel until something. Mm-hmm. And then in 59 and 60 you see the until coming to an end. Yeah. And Paul picks up 59 just before 60 starts, and quotes it in his discussion of Israel's destiny in Romans chapter 11. He is saying that the Redeemer will one day come to Israel, and he will purify them of their sins.
Yeah.
It's got nothing to do with the church. It's got nothing to do with certainly Jehovah's Witnesses.
Yeah.
But Franz is in the habit, as we all know, of making everything in the prophets apply to today and to his religion.
Yeah.
Just as Rutherford and Russell had done before him.
So we're linking to that statement in the remaining months before Armageddon is discussed in it. And also the playlist, Who Really Are Jehovah's Witnesses.
Which is, I think, the playlist where you go through all of the Old Testament prophecies about the destiny of Israel.
Good.
See you next time.